Penalty shootouts are not every soccer fan's ideal way of finding a winner, but it was fitting the two stops Cessnock skipper Peter Oberhauser pulled off in the thrilling shootout against Hamilton got Cessnock the win after he had a great day in front of goal. That result means the Hornets play Edgeworth in the major semi-final this weekend, while Olympic play in the sudden death minor semi against Maitland. Waratah has maintained a 2-point buffer on the field in Newcastle Rugby League after round 16 action. There is a real battle for fifth place with just a point separating Curry and the Northern Blues with 2 games left. In Group 21, Aberdeen has upset Premier Scone to reach the grand final. The Tigers won the major semi-clash 20-16, with Scone to meet Corindai next weekend for another crack at making the decider. And Wallsend motorcyclist Rob Jones has beaten some of the world's finest and bravest motorcycle riders in Canada to finish third in the World Stunt Motorcycle Championships.
The world's second largest passenger catamaran must be in New Zealand by the end of the week to meet charter commitments. But a strike last week at the Four Jacks floating dock has delayed the project by 2 days, upsetting the vessel's builders, Incat.
The company should have thought of that. This is not new to them. We've had a number of discussions with the senior management over the need to improve their relations with their employees.
270 union members downed tools last week, upset with the way they were treated by supervisors. They were ordered back to work by the Industrial Commission, but the damage had been done. While Four Jacks management wouldn't speak to us on camera today, they did say the dispute had upset their relationship with the Topcat Ferry Company, possibly jeopardising the prospect of future work for the port.
I think the long-term options for Four Jacks is to busily set about improving their relations with their employees.
Paul Lobb, NBN News.
Shoal Bay boasts clean waters and an almost hidden beach, proving popular for all activities. But as the waves continue to roll in on the beach, the sand continues to disappear out to sea.
A lot of businesses, tourism opportunities that depend on this beach, and importantly, the marine environment depend on the waterway structure here.
Several solutions have been offered to try and stop the beach from further deterioration, but none have proved sufficient. And although it's a pressing issue, Council doesn't want to rush it.
Cost is a major issue, but cheap solutions that don't deliver long-term effects are expensive options.
And if a solution is reached, Council could find they have the backing of federal government.
We have some appropriate programs under the Coasts and Clean Seas policy. It's a matter of seeing whether anything that we do in that area fits into the requirements for this particular problem.
What's left of the beach will have to do for now until long-term solutions can be reached. Adam Harper, NBN News.
Whether it be teamwork, whether it be problem solving, working with others. They're the things that we're told are going to be vital to work in the 21st century.
While broadcast media provides local, national and international news for those unable to read due to a disability, community items can often pass them by. but no more. The weekly Lake Macquarie News and Post newspapers now incorporate a talking service.
Lake Macquarie City Council is to review its after-hours service number listed in the telephone book.
The Royal Blind Society has been coordinating such talking newspapers for 11 years, but after only 4 weeks, the Lake Macquarie edition is already the state's biggest, at 500 people.
There's been a fantastic response actually. We sent out a pilot issue and then of course the clients have the choice as to whether to receive it or not, and we've had a really great take-up rate.
It's run entirely by volunteers who narrate the items, tirelessly copy tapes and mail them out. But the work pays off for people like Alan Victor. The 73-year-old's eyesight has been deteriorating for years, and he now finds the talking service the best way to access newspapers.
With a tape, you just switch it on, switch it off to your own convenience, and it's still there, ready for you.
Colin Baldwin, NBN News.
A year after setting the Australian record for writing the most winners in a season at 207.5, Alan Robinson has topped the chart again with 186.
This year snuck up and I was lucky to get away with it, you know, with the injuries and that I've had, so it's nice. I'm not giving it back.
But the season included many things, including 2 horrific race falls, the first at Tamworth in May, another a month later at Kembla Grange. Neither fall seriously injured him, nor stopped his desire to ride, but they did make him take stock of what waits for him at home, and this season will definitely be not as busy.
I'm getting out it for my daughter, and the new one, and my wife. Got a few other little things that I'm going to chase this year, not in racing, but I'll still going to ride a bit. I enjoy it, you know, I love it.
That was shown at Muswellbrook today, where he rode in 7 of the 8 races. His best, though, was a second in race 3, just beaten on the line.
You know, to get syndicates together to keep people in racing today is getting harder and harder, and every little extra that adds up knocks an owner out, and you don't get them back.
Residents of this Department of Housing estate in Hanbury Street, Mayfield, were disturbed at around 11 o'clock this morning when a police pursuit ended in their driveway.
Because you don't think something like that would happen, cars hitting, walls and...
Police chase?
Police chase, yeah.
Police had spotted a stolen vehicle in Fitzroy Street and followed it for a short distance before the driver turned down the driveway and crashed into a brick pillar. Both the driver and the passenger then fled from the car but were arrested by police a short distance later after a brief foot pursuit.
I seen this blue Holden coming up here, the police behind it, and they bang and they run off. And copper give chase.
The two men are tonight in custody. Tanya Carlisle, NBN News.
Until the late 60s, the bodies of thousands of stillborn babies were buried throughout the state in unmarked graves.
We'll find a lot of the people were told it's over and done with, get on with your life, forget it, put it behind you. And a lot of the people here today have actually done that for 40 or 50 years. And this is the first recognition they've ever been able to have of their baby existing.
Unveiled today, this memorial garden at Cessnock Cemetery finally gives families a place to focus their grief. Alan and Gwen Farry lost a daughter 44 years ago.
I was told to forget about it. And then when I went home from hospital, my mum took all the baby clothes and everything away. So I wasn't able to grieve. I just kept it inside for years.
4 generations of the Bainbridge family were at today's ceremony. Nancy Bainbridge lost a daughter 55 years ago.
We didn't have a place to go to, and now we can come here and see, well, this is where she is.
More remembrance plaques can be ordered through Cessnock City Council. Paul Lobb, NBN News.
A huge figure, in excess of $1 billion a year, and more than 3.5 million visitors a year.
With the Sydney Olympics just around the corner, it's hard to think of anything other than sport. So a new component of the Archibald Prize was developed for this year only, portraits of well-known Australian sporting personalities.
The subject had to be someone who had excelled in sport, and the portrait had to be taken from life.
More than 140 entries were made, but at the Region Art Gallery only the cream of the crop have been displayed. The overall winner was this portrait of Aussie rules legend Ron Barassi. The exhibition runs until the end of September. Meanwhile, the Lovett Gallery has come to life with more than 70 wildlife pictures. The stunning exhibition, titled Wings, Water and Wilderness, showcases images of nature captured by 3 Australian photographers. The exhibition opens tomorrow and runs until early next month. Adam Harper, NBN News.
A body discovered in a wheelie bin is just one of the cases Belinda Nolan has dealt with in 21 years of police work. She's done everything from handling the media to comforting victims' relatives. Now she's been appointed the first female detective inspector in regional New South Wales.
It's a great honour, it's a great privilege, but I'm confident that I'll do the job well.
She has spent the majority of her career working in the Hunter, on the Central Coast and at Taree, and she hopes that her appointment to the position of crime manager in the Hunter's Waratah Patrol will help open the door for other women.
Well, I think inevitably as the more women join the police service that they will climb through the ranks and take up senior positions. It's just taken a long time to get to this level.
Well, there's been so much confusion around ticket sales for the first week of the semi-finals, the season ticket holders of the individual clubs unable to retain their seats in the grandstands for the respected home semis, trouble actually getting any tickets, price confusion at Ticketek. It makes you think that the NRL have to come up with another option, or even staging all the semis at Stadium Australia to eliminate these problems. At least everyone's assured of getting a seat, the prices are fixed, and there'll be no more lineups. The double-header semi-final weekends have been a major success in the past, and to the players, it only increases the semi-final atmosphere. Dally M's on Tuesday night, and Trent Barrett got the vote as the game's best, with Kamali and Johns close behind him. A couple of weeks ago, Barrett was voted in the Players poll as the league's most up-and-coming star, and really boosted his chances for World Cup selection at the end of the year. West Tigers have had a big week. John Hupplewadi cited for a record 10 offences. West Tigers are taking more time to put their case together before they go to the judiciary. And the news that has left the rugby league world spellbound is that Wayne Pearce has pulled out of the coaching job next year. People have been guessing why he's standing down after a very successful year of coaching. He's put it down to personal reasons, and I think that should be good enough for everyone to accept. Well, here's my tips for the start of the final series. If Canberra and Penrith were playing at a neutral ground, I would pick Penrith. They've been in good form and have no real injury worries. But you throw Bruce Stadium into the equation and it's just about impossible to separate the two teams. Now, Newcastle and Melbourne at Marathon Stadium, always a powerful tool for the Storm players, is the ex-Newcastle guys coming back. They've got an extra bit of motivation playing against their old club. But the Knights have no injury worries for the first time in weeks. I think that they can do the job. Roosters v Parramatta. I've gone with the Roosters to win narrowly, and Brisbane and the Sharks match will be much closer than people think. But the Broncos deserve to be clear-cut favourites. That's it from me. I'll see you guys next week.
USA, and the final team is Denmark. We're going to walk.
The 200th game for Edgeworth keeper Dean Conway had everyone dropping by. But the occasion got the better of Ian Tressida, missing what he'd consider a gimme. Craig Beckett and Les Chappell collected each other. But after a neat Tressida pass, Wayne Bailey spun to hit home the first goal of the day. Faould Umlil almost doubled the lead with a shot of his own, went oh so close. But the second came from a goalmouth scramble. Again, Tressida was involved, but it was Bailey finishing again to bag a double. 2-0 down, Cessnock had the perfect opportunity to peg back the deficit a short time later, but the chance went begging with Conway cleaning up the scraps. When a pinpoint corner found Bailey in open space, the Eagles striker had his third, and the home side was up 3-0 and virtually ashort of a grand final berth. Cessnock rarely threatened after half-time, while new breaker signing Daniel McBreen made an impact when he came on for Edgeworth, scoring in the dying minutes to wrap it up 4-0.
Just as it has elsewhere, the Torch Relay will spark a string of community celebrations in the Hunter. On August 27, which coincidentally is Rugby League's NRL Grand Final Day, the elements will be the theme in Newcastle. The Olympic Flame matched by celebrations based on earth and light in Wallsend and Hamilton, and water at the foreshore, along with a 1,500-voice choir, fireworks and big screens. The next day it'll be breakfast at Warners Bay before a party at Spears Point Park, featuring Japanese drummers, bands and a flotilla of local boats. Darren Mink is both a relay ambassador and a torch bearer, and understandably can't wait.
I've had quite a few friends that have done it, and they just say you just don't even feel yourself walk, you just fly along, and I'm really looking forward to it, especially along the water at Lake Macquarie.
The torch then heads to Belmont and Swansea, and while local sailing legend Albie Bergen won't be carrying the flame, he's still heavily involved. The 84-year-old is selling balloons to local businesses as part of a Belmont Chamber of Commerce program to decorate the relay route. Meanwhile, some Paralympic dreams came closer to being realised today at the Hunter Orthopaedic School. 9-year-old student Caitlin Lawrence has raised almost $2,500 as part of a program to help foot the bill for Australia's Paralympians. Her efforts earning her a certificate of appreciation.
She's into the Olympics and the Paralympics, so I think she just wanted to help.
And Caitlin will get to show her admiration for our athletes in person. She's attending both the Olympics and Paralympics.
Commissioner Ryan met with Hunter business leaders and senior police today as part of a pre-Olympic tour of the state. His mission to allay fears that the 5,000-strong Olympic police force will leave regional areas short.
Will there be enough police, and will police stations reopen after the Games? And the answer to both of those is yes, there will be enough police, and yes, we will be reopening police stations.
About 1/3 of police from each patrol will be in Sydney during the Games. Mr Ryan says the cancellation of leave, rest days and training, as well as most court duties, will free up other officers to step in. But the media conference was disrupted by a Maitland businessman who believes police are already having trouble coping with crime. Video shop owner John Lee faced Maitland court today, charged with assault after capturing and detaining a teenager who he says robbed his store.
I keep getting juveniles coming in who know the law to a T. I complain to the police. They tell me there's nothing they can do because they're under 18.
But despite the Commissioner's assurances, it's clear the force will be stretched.
If you do need to see the police, we will certainly call, we will certainly come round and see you, but try and be wise and don't use the police unnecessarily.
once you come in and churn them up and it all starts to go, and it doesn't matter what you do after you've left, in this so-called reclaiming, they're never the same. You know.
Little did Professor John Fryer know when he started as a surveyor that he would end up spending a large amount of his time working on court cases. Over the past year, he's worked on dozens of cases, using his expertise to measure anything from the height of a suspect from security camera vision to the length of a gun.
But I do believe as we move into a litigious society that there's more and more opportunity for getting hardcore evidence into the court system, and probably the best qualified people to make those measurements are surveyors.
Professor Fryer has just returned from a tour of Singapore, Finland, England and the Netherlands, where he spoke at various universities about his forensic work.
In fact, all the talks I gave resulted from some of this work that I've done in the court system in the last year.
Professor Fryer says a whole new field is now opening up to surveyors. He's even started teaching his surveying students at Newcastle University the art of forensic work.
In fact, some of their exam questions that I now set, and some of their assignments I set, come directly from some of these cases, and that gives them a real-world feel to some of their work and their measurements.
Tanya Carlisle, NBN News.
Certainly in the tourism area, I think we certainly need to be attracting more players into this city, and given its proximity to Sydney.
For a team trying to keep things low-key, an open session at their new training ground couldn't have been a greater contrast. It was one of the few opportunities for fans to see the Knights at work as players wait for Saturday week.
Everyone wants sort of a piece of it, so it's just a matter of keeping your preparation the same, but really trying hard to knuckle down and just, thinking about this one game.
We've got to stay tuned on this game we've got, or we're not going to be there.
A bonding session is where they'll be later in the week, away from public scrutiny.
Everyone wants to talk about it. If you just go down the shops, people asking, who do you think you're going to play? Do you think you can win the grand final? So just get out of town for a day or two. We're going to get together and maybe sit around and set some goals out.
A new contract is what Paul Rahihi is after, but it looks that will be likely only if he can find work as well.
I'd really like to stay here, and if I'd like to stay for a couple of years. I don't want to just stay for 1 year. So if the job's going to help me to stay here for a couple of years, then yeah, I'd like to stay.
In the team at the expense of Glenn Grief, Rahihi has found his way into a final series just a year after slogging it out in Melbourne's feeder club.
Would you imagine 12 months ago you'd be in the position you are now?
No, I didn't actually, especially this close to the grand final. I never would have thought I'd be here.
And for David Fairley, some overdue recognition for what's already been a fantastic season, winning the Footy Show's Prop of the Year award overnight. Jim Callanan, NBN News.
Waratah and Wallsend High Schools will cater for years 7 to 10 only from next year if the department has its way, with years 11 and 12 to go on to Jesmond High.
They're not necessarily against the collegiate proposal, but they want things to be done properly. Therefore, they've called for a 12-month delay.
The Teachers' Union has banned its members doing anything that helps to get the proposal up and running because they believe it's educational risk-taking.
Well, we don't believe it's risk-taking, and certainly nobody is taking the view that the collegiate isn't a good thing.
The Hunters Department head, Laurie Tabat, says that one large senior school can address problems of poor retention rates and results without costing teachers jobs.
I think we're concerned that the students in Year 10, going to Year 11 next year, have the maximum number of opportunities, the maximum number of electives, the maximum number of career paths. We can't offer that in the current structure.
Since the story of shop owner John Lee's brush with the law hit the news this week, he's been deluged with hundreds of calls from other business people.
It's been overwhelming. The phone's been ringing off the hook. I haven't had one negative thing. It's just congratulations. The law should be changed.
It's become clear that his case is not an isolated one. The owner of this car dealership just up the road from the video shop has had 12 cars stolen in the last 2 years, including another 2 vehicles just this morning.
A law-abiding business person like myself can only be pushed so far.
The problem is getting so bad that the Newcastle and Hunter Business Chamber has launched a TV ad calling for help.
We want greater policing. We want tougher fines and prosecutions. And we want it now.
Mr. Lee and 2 of his supporters met with the local police inspector today. The 3 emerged with a fresh resolve to report all minor crime quickly.
Because the discussion we had in there today with the police indicated that they are relying a lot on that reporting system. And if people don't report that petty crime, they're getting skewed figures.
I'm concerned that how far I go before I do something that is against the law myself. Don't wish to. That's why we're over here talking to the police to say, look, how can you help us? Because we do need help. Maitland needs help.
Paul Lobb, NBN News.
Outsiders coming in off the streets into the School of Performing Arts at Broadmeadow, threatening to rob students or grabbing them over the fence, has prompted the principal to draw the line.
Probably just keep the kids behind because we've got a couple of outsiders coming up starting stuff.
Threats with knives have been reported and the student no-go zone, painted 20 metres back from the fence, right along the school's Lambton Road frontage, seems to have been well accepted by students, despite the restriction on their playtime freedom.
Does that bother you?
No, not really. No, it's for our own safety. So.
Not really, it's just for the safety of the kids, I reckon. The teachers looking out for the kids and that.
It's good to see that people haven't forgotten what we went through.